the show.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Cannabis Corner on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, broadcasting live from downtown New Haven. We are streaming live on TuneIn Radio and NewHavenIndependent.org. We're also streaming live video on Facebook and YouTube. Just go to your Facebook page and look us up or hit C first to see and hear all the great programs that we have here on WNHHLP. And Cannabis Corner is also streaming live on the Greenhaven Media Facebook and YouTube page and ProCannabisMedia.com. Please make sure you go over there, like, share, and subscribe to all the great stuff that we have here on Cannabis Corner Radio and Greenhaven Media. Welcome, everyone. It is Monday, April the 14th. 2025. Welcome to Cannabis Corner. I'm your host, Joe LaChance. Joe, the weed guy. I am flying solo right now. Uncle Lou is probably busy doing some dispensary business, but I've always got a lot of great things to say. So let's get started. This week, I got some great news from the state of Connecticut. It came through on Tuesday. It came through. Dear Joseph P. LaChance, your application for an absolute pardon was heard by a panel of the Board of Pardons and Paroles on expedited review without a hearing agenda on 4/7/2025 in Waterbury. We are pleased to inform you that the board has voted to tentatively grant you an absolute pardon. So, please note a certificate of pardon will be issued to you after a final criminal record check is completed through the State Police Bureau of Identification. Of course, that will be fine. So, basically, it says it's going to take about 10 weeks before I get my certificate, but I have been granted a tentative absolute pardon from the state of Connecticut for an offense that I committed in 1984. So anyway, that's good news. That to me shows how the law that we fought so hard for to get in has actually worked. Now, has it worked in any other ways? Maybe not. But it worked in this way, and I can attest to it personally. And that was one of the things that we specifically wanted to make sure got into the bill, that people could get expunged. And not only that, but it get expunged for free. This did not cost me anything. This was done through Tiana Hercules, who has been working with the board and BOPP, and she did a whole program for people who specifically were drug offenders and I got to thank her. So I want to thank Tiana Hercules. I want to thank Jen from Burn and Learn for motivating me to do this. And after 40 years, 40 freaking years, I had that thing on my record. I finally got the pardon. So thank you to the state of Connecticut. Thank you, Tiana Hercules. Again, thank you, Jen. So, anyway. 420 weekend. This is 420 coming up this week. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure you do know, you're living under a rock. 420 is the cannabis smokers holiday. I have no clue why it was named. There are a million different reasons they say it was named 420, but let's just say it is the cannabis smokers holiday. It happens to be Easter this year, so let's make it a great holiday this year. A lot of good things going on, but before the 420 event, the big weekend, there is a big cannabis community forum coming up on the 16th, which is Wednesday. So I think it's very important that we check this out. It's going from 12 to 4. For those of you who don't know, the cannabis community has kind of been under attack lately. And, I don't want to say definitely under attack, but the state legislator seems to be thinking that cannabis is their new toy. And every year they come up with new laws. And this year they've got this law that the smell of cannabis can be probable cause for search or for pulling over or for, you know, here's the point. When we made cannabis the law, we specifically put this in that the smell of cannabis could not be used as probable cause. Now they are backpedaling on a promise that they made to us 4 or 5 years ago, whenever it became legal, 2021. And we got to stand up for this. This is a step backwards for cannabis. This is a step backwards for people's rights in general. I mean, this is really another power grab by the police. I gotta really think this is the police trying to grab their power back. And, to me, they can use all the excuses that they want, but we can look at the facts and the figures. Accidents have not risen because of cannabis use. There have not been more arrests made. Cannabis is legal now. And I think the state legislature, I think the police, and I think they need to freaking get over it.
They're doing a ton of studies nowadays, and they're making sure to show that cannabis doesn't really um, impair as much as alcohol. So it's the studies are being done, and they're just looking for more ways to find more ways to get things harmful to our people. Like we said 1,000 times, if you work in the cannabis industry, now you would become uh,
A target.
a target for any of those individuals.
Yeah.
So
So you come home, you just finished your shift at the cultivation facility, right? You smell like weed. You're driving home, you go through a stop sign or something by accident, whatever.
it could
Cop
be
pulls you
anything.
over,
It could be anything. It could be a
a
random
tail
stop. It could
light.
be a stop. No, don't even. It could be a stop. Just a
Yeah,
random checkpoint, which you couldn't have broken any laws, and now instantly, just because of the way you smell, you're a criminal immediately.
right, right. Exactly right. I think they're more lax on alcohol than they are with cannabis. And like you I think you were saying last week, you could have an open bottle of vodka on your front seat that's been cracked open, but God forbid you have a half smoked joint. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, so this is why we finally got together on Wednesday. We're going to have a big cannabis community forum. We haven't needed anything like this in a while, you know. But it just seems like all aspects of the industry, and now it's affecting consumers, right? Usually it's been the activists and the advocates coming out there and really trying to change the laws to make the industry itself better. Now we're at the point where this is affecting consumers. This is going to affect anyone who smokes cannabis. You can have your rights violated, whether they find anything or not, Lou. I think you got to agree with me. Just getting pulled over and having to pull out your registration, possibly get out of the car, possibly having somebody look through your personal effects in your car just because you smell like weed is not only embarrassing, it's time consuming, but it's traumatic as well for some people, depending on their mind frame.
Of course, it's traumatic. I don't want that to happen. I have a
Whether they
problem with
find anything or not.
right. Like there's nothing to hide, but I still don't want them going through my shit.
Right.
Like why is it I got to be treated like a prisoner again for for nothing?
Right. When we thought we had overcome this hurdle.
You know what I mean? So
Just to me, it's like a step backwards. And this is what I think we have to make clear to the state that we don't want to take step backwards. We want legislation that is going to move this industry forward, that is going to put it in a place where it can be competitive with Massachusetts, be competitive with Maine and the other markets around it, to the
well,
point where they don't have
we
to.
got $28 eighths now.
I mean, we're
So
getting there, right?
so it's
And then we just need I mean, it's a question of, I guess, being patient and allowing, and the legislator legislatures allowing the industry to grow and not putting dampers on it, like obstacles in the way.
Yep. All it is obstacles, Joe. It
That's what it
doesn't. It
seems like
doesn't
they're
matter.
doing.
All we have is obstacles, Joe.
And I don't understand it. They're crying about not making enough money, right? Oh, wah, wah, wah. The marijuana industry in Connecticut is not making enough money, so now we have to go to enforcement. Well, if you had value, if you made it in kowtow and kiss the corporate butt, then maybe you'd have an industry like Maine, you know, where there is no corporate butt to
Yeah,
kiss.
there's a lot of corporate butt in Maine's a kiss too. Remember, only part of Maine's, and this is where the conversation always gets fishy because only part of Maine's legislation is as friendly as it is because and that's the medical side because the adult
Right,
use
true.
side is completely coveted by the Cure Leafs and the Trulias and everything else, and that's why they are fighting up there. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like
Maine is very active too. Yes, you're right.
they're fighting to maintain their medical program. So
Which
that's
we
very
are too. I
stressful.
mean, let's be real. We had a nice medical program here for a while when they finally got it into the point where we could have flour, where we had good have good percentages. We had a nice medical program here for about 2 years. Decent flour, decent prices until adult use came in, and then
Yep.
it was all over.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And the two could not coexist. I don't want to blame anybody, but I just think the state and the way and this is some good news. Though I don't think we've talked about this. Um, there is a new agency being formed. So they are taking cannabis regulation and control out of the hands of the DCP and giving it its own agency. That's big news. How do you think that's going to work?
We shall see, in all honesty, but it's still within the DCP. It still encompasses a lot of the same people. It's still, there's nothing has really changed. The DCP is an enforcement agency, regulatory enforcement agency. Um, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But at least they recognize the need that people have to realize the Department of Protection handles a ton of different things. They handle all kinds of consumer issues, products that are out there. So, and cannabis being as big as it is, as huge, as an industry, when you try to put together now the medical and the adult use, and now it's starting to grow. They're talking about adding consumption lounges. It's to the point where it needs its own agency. And other states have done this as well. And I think it's good that Connecticut finally has come to that realization that, hey, maybe we can't lump cannabis in with all the other consumer products. It is a specified, it is a specialized industry, and we need to give it its own agency. So I think that is a step forward. Again, like you said, we shall see how it goes. But again, this is something they just sprung on us. It's something brand new. So we're gonna find out how it all spreads out. But anyway, a couple things going on this week. Again, I'm speaking of the community forum that's up in Hartford. You can either go there and participate, hang out. There will
Mm-hmm.
be some door prizes. They're going to be giving away some seeds. A lot of free seeds up there for those who want to grow this year. So it should be a nice event. MJ Shannon is actually participating. He is a legislator. We had him and you were there the other night, Lou, the CCSBA community meeting. I thought it was a really good turnout. We had about 35 people. We had some great pizza there from the New Haven Pizza Place here in Milford. A lot of the industry showed up, a lot of the community, and I thought it was great. Great speakers. And MJ Shannon did show up. He's the new legislator, the new rep here from Milford. Very cannabis friendly, has sponsored some bills, very much behind what we're doing. So,
Well, he's a young
young
career
upstart,
politician.
right?
He's a poli sci major. He just got out of college. This is what he wants to do for the rest of his life. So he's a career politician. So let's always put things where a nice guy.
Yes,
I'm not
he, a
saying,
matter of, you're right. I understand what you're saying, right? He came up through the clerk's office. So this is what he wants to do for his career, pretty
yeah,
much.
he's planning on being a career politician. So
Right.
you know, this is where he's gonna make his beginning parts of it, and
His bones,
it's
right.
where he's cutting his bones, where he's able to kind of do those things as a younger politician. But he's a career politician. You know what I mean? This is what he hopes his career will be. So we always have to understand. Who knows? Maybe halfway through this, he has to change his mind because being a young politician, and who knows?
Yeah,
But
you
somebody
have to
might
play the
say,
game. You have to compromise, right, right, right. Like certain Josh Elliott.
"Yeah, exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
if you want to move up the ranks, you're gonna
You got to
have
play the
to
game."
soften your stance on the cannabis, right? Well, in Josh's
So
case, it was the mushrooms, but
right,
right, and that's the thing. When you decide to become a career politician, and you want to, and rather than just do your thing as a rep and then retire, we're talking. I know Josh Elliott wanted, he wanted to move up to be the Secretary of State, and this is what these guys see. The next step would be senator, and then maybe get a position like Secretary of State or Attorney General, depending on your background, or a position in
right.
the government. See, I get it. You do, and eventually, as you climb that ladder, you have to maybe compromise and do different things in order to reach your goals. You know, and that's how it is in anything:
Yeah.
politics, corporate, anything. You
We
know.
see it in many, 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 many places. But I hope the DCP does the thing and is true to what they're saying. And the new Office of Cannabis,
Yeah, I hope it
the
works.
Cannabis
Let's
Commission.
The Cannabis Commission. I'm sure we'll be talking about that on Wednesday at the forum. It's going to be long. It's 12 to 4. Long day. You can participate by Zoom. There are links. You can go to the Canna Warriors or CCSBA and find out links on how to go. Hope we have nice weather. Should be great. Let's get out there, support the plant in um, pre 420. Speaking of that, Lou, this Friday we got Aaron coming up to the dispensary.
That's right.
She is doing a book signing for her book. I Got High. Now what? She has written a book. She's written a couple books actually. One about psilocybin and one about it's kind of a cannabis journaling type of thing. But so that's always nice. We've been doing a lot of great events over there at the dispensary. We had Takesha over there on Friday as well,
That's right.
and Uzma during the week on Tuesday. So we've been keeping it going, keeping it moving. It's always nice to keep the public informed. But so we have that Friday afternoon from 12 to 3. I'm sure I will be there. But also Saturday, you've got something going on with the local brewery. Am I
With the
correct?
local brewery and Luna Wolf. Yes, we have. There's going to be education about cannabis and uh, cannabis flower, dispensary, growing, hops, barley, kind of the whole thing while they have a while they have their event for the release of the Ganja Bot IPA, as well as the Clay Date will be doing cannabis themed items. So it's kind of that whole neighborhood. We'll have the dispensary, the brewery, and Clay Date kind of running it all around.
Nice, nice. There are a lot of events going on the 19th. You can check out my. Obviously, we have the Big Burn and Learn event over there in Shelton. That's going to be great. I love the fact that Nautilus is a community-based dispensary. Literally, the brewery we're talking about is in walking distance from the dispensary. People go there. I'm sure you're going to have coupons to get a
Coupons
discount,
for discounts. Yep.
and you're going to be speaking. You're going to be talking
Yep. At
there.
3 o'clock.
at 3 o'clock. So that's New England Brewery.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right there on the New Haven Woodbridge line over there on Amity Road, exit 59. Boom. You can pop over to the dispensary, get your supplies for 420,
Yep,
hang out, have a couple of these new terpene infused brews,
that's right.
and
Get some
talk to
food.
Luna, right? Get some food, get some CBD doggy treats from Luna, a little chillum from the Clay Date, and you got your whole day ready for 420.
That's right. Food
You know?
trucks, company, vendors, the whole nine over at New England Brewery. So we love to support those around us, you know?
That's going to be great. And the only other thing I did want to mention is our friends, the Rolling Stoners, have a
That's
great
right.
little event coming up on the 20th over there in Wolcott. That's their usual, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
Jiu-Jitsu.
with
Yes,
the
sir.
cannabis. You can't beat that. But our guest is here. With us right now, of course, is Jeff Chasen. And Jeff is from the Soil Makers. And at the Soil Makers, we are passionate about cultivating the highest quality organic living soils and fertilizers to help you grow with confidence. Our mission is simple to provide growers with the cleanest, most nutrient rich products available, ensuring that every plant thrives. Whether you're growing for personal use or scaling up to professional cultivation, we stock everything you need to nurture the finest plants on earth. From our specialty crafted soils to our all natural fertilizers, every product is designed to work in harmony with nature, delivering unparalleled results. Join us in cultivating a better tomorrow, one plant or at a time. Jeff, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you today, my friend?
Good, good. Busy.
Busy, I'm
We're
sure.
seeing you
Now,
guys going out all over the place, seeing the truckloads of soil going out. You
Yeah,
guys
we've
have a
been
great
crazy this spring.
product.
Super crazy this spring. It's awesome.
yeah, well, that's good. That's encouraging to guys like me and Lou, and I'm sure it's everybody out there in the cannabis industry. That uh, it is showing that there is more people out there growing, taking advantage of these laws, the fact that it's legal now.
Yeah, and I think that they want to grow in a in a healthy, clean soil. I think that's that's really coming around. I mean, people really want higher quality cannabis. They want to be able to grow it themselves. And I think when they can grow something better than they can get from the dispensary at home, you can't beat that.
Right, right. And
Well,
let's be real, before it was legal, every people have been growing this for a long time,
Sure.
right? But there wasn't a lot of choice. You know, you almost had to go get that miracle grow soil. There
Yeah.
wasn't a lot of nutrients. You know, you kind of had to, blind leading the blind, feel it out on what was best for cannabis. And it's guys like you who were doing this early on, who took the time to say, all right, I'm going to specialize in soil. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because that's where it all starts, you know? And I was just wondering, what made you decide that out of all the aspects of growing, right? What made you decide to focus and really specialize in soil? Because you really are known as like the
Yeah,
chef
exactly. I mean,
soil.
yep. I mean, we owned the landscaping company for years, and we did like organic, like garden installs and like raised bed installs, stuff like that. We did that for years, and all while growing ourselves, and then we started building soils for customers to use in their potted plants and whatnot, and then we were building our own soils for us, and then we just noticed that it was better than what we could buy at the store, and even getting the ingredients to grow organically was hard to find. You had to buy a 50-pound bag from Kansas or something. I mean, you couldn't get anything locally, and I think it came to the point where we were like, man, we should do something. We should offer these products locally and create a soil that that works. That works from beginning to end. And I think
Right.
that's what that makes it easier. It's ready to go out of the bag, and it doesn't really take a lot of or a green thumb to do really well. And I think that's where we kind of landed. We were like, I think the market needs this, and then we started teaching and explaining to people the differences between salt based and organics and and hybrid systems. And I think like as you're saying, the organic, we call it the organic revolution, is really coming around. Whether it's people the food they want to eat or whatever, the plants that they're going to grow, they're if you're going to grow it yourself, you might as well grow it organically, in my opinion. So,
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm taking a look at your website right now. You have quite a bit of different varieties. Like you have the elite living soil, you have the Elko, then you have the seed and clone soil.
yeah. So
See,
the Elite is our flagship. That's that we've had for 12 years. That's what started all of this. And then a few years ago, we decided to make somewhat of a lighter mix. A lot of people were coming out of Fox Farm or Cocoa, and they're used to a faster dry back, and so we
right,
kind of
right.
designed a mix that has a little cocoa in it, allows it to dry back a little bit faster, allows you to push it a little bit harder. You can add a little bit more nutrient value to it towards the end if you want to. And then that's kind of where we went with that. And then seed and clone, I mean, our living soils will germinate seeds. It's just if you're going to spend a lot of money on seeds and cuts, we really recommend going into a soil that's built for that.
Was
And
specifically built for that, right? I mean, like
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're going to spend $10, $20 a seed, I mean, you want to put that in something that, isn't going to take the chance of possibly eating it up. And I think that, not that living soil eats up seeds. It's just that you have that possibility of it just being too much or too moist for a little baby plant. So I think that the seed and clone kind of takes that spot. And then once it has roots, that's what we tell our customers. Once it has roots, you can go into either of the living soils and kind of just rage from there.
so let's talk about living soils. What's the difference between living soil, let's say, and I don't know what else you would call it, normal regular soil you find out in your lawn.
Yeah. So living soil is basically a medium that is ran off of the microbes inside. So the microbes we add in or come with the castings and the compost break down all of our nutrients that we add, like crab, kelp, fish, etc. They break that down and work synergistically with the plant to get those nutrients to them in a fashion that they want. So the plants basically tell the soil what nutrients they want, and then the soil reacts to that and absorbs what or gives the plant what it needs. With a regular, I don't call it regular soil or non-living soil, what we call a soilless medium,
There you go.
is null of compost or worm casting. It's just peat and perlite or cocoa and perlite. There's no living side to it. There's no bacteria. You can add bacteria to a cocoa perlite or to a peat perlite, but without an organic matter ratio in that soil, it's hard to keep those bacteria thriving, right?
I think that's what people need to don't realize. A lot of people, whether they're growers or not growers, is the fact that the soil, unless you continuously are replenishing it, will eventually become depleted of its nutrients and almost become toxic to the plant, which is what we see in commercial growing, where what we're talking about when you know what I'm talking about,
Sure.
commercial factory, what you see in the supermarkets, that soil that they're growing in is far from living, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and a
And
lot of it is salt-based drip. I mean, and what happens is at the end they're just left with a lot of residuals, heavy
right,
metals
and they only use the
or
three
whatnot.
nutrients, right? It's what is it? Phosphorus, nitrous,
NP and K, yeah,
yeah,
nitrogen, phosphorus,
NPK, right?
potassium, and micronutrients.
NPK, and that's it. Now
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
not.
I mean, and a lot of people say an ion is an ion, right? So if it's an organic ion or a synthetic ion or a salt-based ion, it's the same. And what we try to teach is that in organics there's different compounds of ions. So with a salt-based drip, right? You have your nitrogen, your phosphorus, and potassium. It's one ion, right? One nitrogen ion, one phosphorus, one potassium, or whatever. With
Right.
organics, you might have 12 different phosphorus compound ions that work together, right? So it's not just an ion for an ion. I mean, we're talking there's
Right,
more
right.
to it with organics, and that's what makes it better. It's just the natural way that plants grow, and I think that once people start realizing that this is how a plant wants to grow instead of being forced to grow, and that's not saying that there can't be good salt-based, salt drip plants. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't grow amazing plants with different soils. It's just we see higher terps, higher THC, higher percentages of cannabinoids with an organic living soil, and I think it's people are starting to really realize that when they smoke it or when they grow it themselves, they see that reaction that we see.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point earlier about how the plant actually communicates with the soil. You
Sure.
know, and that's what people need to realize. This is a complete living organism that is an actual circle of life that it was designed by Mother Nature, the
Yeah.
universe, whoever you want to call it, to work properly. And sometimes mankind, when it gets in there and starts messing with it, screws it up. So
Sure.
I think what you're trying to do is get it back to nature, and what soil is a real intention, which, like you
Yeah.
say, is a
Yeah.
communication medium.
Yeah, we want to mimic what we call biomimicry. We want to mimic nature inside, and we want all the goods but not the bads. And I think that's the hard part is making sure you're creating a living system inside without too much. I think that that's kind of come around a little bit. People learning that we want living inside, but not all the bad with it. And there is bad in living.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I mean, it's about dialing it in right. And I think that's where our soils come into play. I mean, we just make it super simple, where it's you just plant and add water, and I don't think you can get much easier than that. And you just let the soil. We say let the soil do the work. Let
It's
the
a
soil,
life.
yeah. Let it take its natural process. And stop trying to force it to do something it doesn't want to do. I mean, you can just let it. A lot of times, if you just let it do its thing, you'll see better results.
Right, right. And so yeah, the soil being living, just let it grow with the plant. They're kind of growing
Yeah.
in symbiosis together. And I like what you said earlier, the difference in the single ion between maybe 12. It's like the difference between full spectrum and an isolate. Do you know what I
Exactly.
mean? Your
Sure. That's a
soil is
great.
a
That's a
full
great.
spectrum soil.
Yeah.
And
So
so you do the soil. I notice on your site you have, like you said, the simple, easy, set it and forget it. All you got to do is add water, add your clone, add your seed, whatever. But
sure.
you also have specifics. You have more advanced soils. You have more additives to soils for the more advanced grower, for somebody who might want to take it to another level, or like you say,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
micro
Well,
cultivator or even a large scale. We're not talking just the home people here.
yeah, and we talk it. We call it fine tuning. So we have, once you're either you're. We try to tell people get a baseline. Run the soil straight up with end game or not. That gives you kind of a good baseline on what the soil will produce on its own. And then after that, we have a re-amend kit. So you would pull once you harvest your plant, you put your re-amend kit back down on the soil, and you can plant right back into that same soil. And that's a really awesome part of our program, where you're not throwing soil out every single time.
Right.
Uh,
You
you,
could
you
reuse
know,
it.
yeah, and then we have veg kits for vegetative growth. We have water soluble fertilizers for like a punch here or there, depending on if you want a veg or a bloom. We have humic acid, fulvic acid, soluble nitrogen. We have a new product called Aqueous, which is a humic kelp yucca, which is really awesome. We've been doing some
Wow.
ferments. So we just kind of playing with it. We do a lot of testing. So some of these products were, 3-4 years in testing before we actually brought it to market. And we're growers. I mean, we're sitting here using these products, testing them, trying to figure out what the limit is. Can someone possibly hurt their plant with it? Like, we'd never want to see someone have an issue with one of our products. And I think that, with rigorous testing, you can kind of get rid of all those unknowns and produce a quality product. And all the ingredients we use are top notch. We don't really spare spare change on that. I mean, it's really about using the best products we can find, and I think the tests prove it. I mean, when you run no heavy
Yeah.
metals, low levels of a lot of different bad items that we don't want. I mean, it's about dialing it in, and I think that the soils plus a little fine tuning. I think that everybody can find their happy place in that mix.
Yeah, and I think people have to understand the thing that's unique about the cannabis plant, which is different from a tomato or any other vegetable or herb you might grow, is that it has multiple uses. So you are not only possibly, inhaling this plant, but you are making a medicine out of it.
Sure.
You could be putting it in food. You could be extracting the oil. I mean, there's a million. So you want to make sure if you're putting it into your body, into these various many ways, and you actually want to use it for medicinal purposes, that you are getting the absolute best quality plant material that you can using the absolute best soil that you can. And I was going to say, would you say the difference between, let's say, hydro and something grown in the natural living soil? Is there, would you say there is a benefit, or is there a certain,
Yeah.
pros and cons, let's say?
Yeah. So I think each style has its own pros and cons. I mean, I think hydro or DWC, those are usually your yielders. I mean, you'll get your max yield out of a system like that. 9 times out of 10 is a salt fed system.
Right.
And we just don't see the terpenes. They're just not there. It's more of what we say genetic expression. So the plants just don't express their full genetic potential. And I think that so everything kind of has this similar flavor.
And look.
Everything. What's that?
Similar look too.
Yeah, similar look, similar flavor. But the yield is there. So I think if that's what you want, if you want yield, I mean, DWC, hydro, hit it. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts. And that can make it more complicated for sure. You lose power, you're in trouble.
Right. Get one little contaminant in there, you're in trouble.
Yeah, a little heat in the water. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to it. So like I said, the yield is there, but it's the cons are big. Salt fed cocoa, salt fed peat can definitely produce some fire cannabis. I've seen a lot of really really nice stuff coming out of a few drip fed systems. And I'm not it's good. It's good. It's a great system to run. It's easy. You can use minimal amounts of medium. A lot of people are stacking like cocoa blocks and whatnot. But I think when it comes to organics, like I said, you get that full expression of colors, the nice fade. You're getting that true flavor, which is and it smokes clean. I mean, we say clean, but it's smooth. It really makes you energetic and more of an uplifting kind of laughy stony high versus kind of like a downer. But I mean, it all is personal preference, and I always say that to people. I don't try to pull.
What are you looking for, right?
Yeah. What are you looking for, and run the style that you feel comfortable with. I mean, I don't ever try to tell people, oh, organics is the best in the world. I mean, we do think that, but we're not going to push that on everybody. We offer an awesome product, and we hope that people try it out. And if you like it, run it. If you think you can, a better system works for you, run that. I mean, whatever works best for personal preference.
And I think that's what's great about as far as we've come in the industry, that you do have your choice. Like you say, you want a higher yield, maybe for your commercial cultivator, you need a higher yield. You got to get that product out there. You use a different method. If you're looking for more medicinal, you want flavor. You were talking about flavor. We're talking about cannabinoids, more cannabinoids, a little more pronounced cannabinoids in there. Then you're going to go with something that is a little bit more refined and closer to nature.
Yeah, and I really think that, like, even if you're making edibles or
right.
Or extracts, I mean, that's where it's at. I mean, you get that really nice, true flavor of the plant, and then, like you said, you get the medicinal qualities of it, that full spectrum extract. And I think that once people really start trying those, they realize the difference between just like our, let's say, a CBD isolate or a THC isolate and like
Right.
spectrum isolate, or a full spectrum like rosin or whatnot.
Yeah, and they'll see the difference in their plants once they start using living soil.
Yeah,
And I'm sure you've seen an uptick in your business now. I noticed you are now all over the place. I mean, you have a store in Colchester,
yep,
correct?
yep.
Your own location.
Yep, that's our store. That's where we create all our soils and all the manufacturing goes on there. We have 20, I think it's 23 stores across the Northeast now. Most in New York, and then we have 5 or 6 in Connecticut. We just picked up a new one over in Rhode Island. We have one up in Vermont, 4 or 5 in Mass. So we're trying to make our way around. Um, we love it. We love to see the response that we're seeing. And happy customers. I mean, that's what we want to see is good reviews and people, who come back and are happy that, they were able to have a successful grow and grow something that they thought was worthwhile.
Well, yeah, I think that's the point. Obviously, I have a lot of the grow stores on the air, and it's nice to see that we went from really 1 or 2 grow stores here in Connecticut to like 6 or 7 now. Here we have,
Yeah.
and your products are in every single one of them. And they
Yeah.
all speak very highly of you, Jeff, as like Jeff the chef. The soil,
Sure.
the soil guy puts the soil together. And do you do classes and things? Do you help teach people how to make their own living soil, maybe from their
We
own
we
stuff?
have we've pondered the idea of doing classes. We tried to schedule some for last year, but we ran into just timing, and there just wasn't enough time last summer. We are going to try to do it this year. We did have a few hash classes, like some extraction classes, live demo style, and then but we are going to try to get some more just like how to grow in our soils, how to use our products type thing.
Right.
But I mean, most of the time, like when we're here, if you come down to our store, we're happy to help you, happy to give you advice. Stay in touch. Keep helping people down the road. After you get a couple grows into it, people kind of go down their own path with it, which is cool. I mean, that's the whole point. Is like there's a huge rabbit hole to go into with organics, and finding that, and then finding your niche in that industry is just it's fun, and everybody kind of has their own style of growing, and that's what we love. It's kind of like a custom system. You can kind of play with it any way you want. It's just start with a good base.
Right. And I think that's what you're providing people out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like a nutrient rich base, and I think that a lot of soils out there just aren't really that nutrient rich. Like they have some cool ingredients on the bag, but really when it comes to what's in the bag, it's not a lot. And it might start out of the gate half decent, and then once you get to the your bloom phase or getting up to late veg, you start seeing those issues, and it's like not the time when you want to see them.
Right.
It's like when starting off with something that has such a nutrient load in it, it's so hard to mess it up, in my opinion. But I mean, like I said, it's watering is its own animal in itself, and I think everybody can agree with that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother science, that you have to really get into.
Sure.
But it's good to see that you are a local Connecticut business, and most of your business is the local, like you said, New York,
Yeah.
Connecticut,
Yep.
Rhode Island is the local area. You built quite a name for yourself. Have you picked up any commercial contracts? So
Oh,
are
yeah,
any of
yeah,
the
we've been-
larger cultivators using your soils?
Oh yeah, we've been doing that since day one. I mean, that's what's really helped us stay in business the first 5 years was getting these bigger commercial accounts. And then after that, it was just about creating a product that can be used in a recreational market. But I mean, yeah, we had a few in Michigan, Oklahoma, Mass, Maine. We did a bunch in Maine. It's hard. I mean, we don't have any. A lot of times with our soils, you send them a one batch, or once we fill their facility up, it's just
Right.
reamend kits. They do soil testing. They call us up for a kit. They show us their test. We give them a kit based on that test, and they're just some places. I know one place is 26 rounds in. They're on round 27 this year.
Wow.
Starting this year. So and that just shows that, it's doable. You can, it just gets better with time. I mean, and their yields have gone up every single round. It's, and we're not talking 20%, but I mean, if you go up 1% every time, that's great. I mean, in a commercial setting, that equals out to a lot. I mean, and I think that they're happy, they're dialing it in, and I think that a lot of places are starting to come around. It's just a big expenditure for some of these commercial facilities, and a lot of them look at bottom line, and
Right.
so until we get some more craft growers out there getting into the commercial market, which seems in Connecticut it's not really going to happen, but we'll see. I mean, I know I know some people are trying to do it, so I'd love to talk with a bunch of the commercial,
Well, I know Lou.
and try to get in there. I mean, I think that they could really benefit from a living soil setup.
Well, I know Lou is working on a cultivation facility. I'm sure he'll be
Yeah,
contacting
that's
you.
awesome.
Because there are a few of us that did get licenses. They're just not up and running yet.
Yeah,
And it would be real important, especially some of these micro cultivators, to get some good quality product out there using some good quality soil. And I think once people start to realize, I think some of these big names like you're talking about who are only concerned about cost
Yep.
realize that there's competition out there, that there's better product out there. And a lot of the reason is because it's being grown in better soil.
yeah,
Maybe they see the light. You brought up a good point. Like you said, you really just fill them up once. You fill them once and then you're just sending them, except, every year the additional to replenish it, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
have
It's
to
just a
get
kit.
new soil every year. It's the
No,
kits.
no, yeah, just a nutrient kit based off of a soil test, or most home growers just use our reamend kit, which is very similar to most of the commercial facilities when they're reamending. But I mean, with a normal home grower doesn't want to spend the time and effort doing soil testing in between runs and whatnot. So that's where our reamend kit comes in handy. Um, but commercial, they want to be hitting it right on the money, and they don't want to spend
Right.
extra money. So I think that that's where that comes in, and having success with that is awesome. I mean, we have a bunch of facilities actually use our mulch. Our witch hazel mulch is super popular with the facilities. We've sent hundreds of yards across this country, and it's such a cool thing because a lot of them are using straw. Straw is just dusty and dirty.
Yeah, right.
Usually comes with thrips, I mean, so it's nice to see them switching up to like a healthier mulch, which we recommend. I think a lot of people don't mulch their pots, and I think that that's a huge part of soil moisture and keeping your pot consistent from the top to the bottom.
Yeah, I think people don't realize the layers.
Yeah.
Even that Mother Nature has in soil, that soil is something that is created naturally, right?
Yeah.
Every year from decomposing leaves and decomposing bugs and
Yep.
decomposing animals. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is such a mixture of various different things that just continuously are being replenished back into it and recycled back into it.
Yeah, and if you go into nature, you don't see bare soil. You won't see bare soil in nature. I mean,
Ever.
they say a bare soil is dead soil, and that's a huge thing. Like, may always cover your soils with something when they're not being used. Even like that's why farmers use cover crops. I mean, they're just keeping their soils, alive. So.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's what nature does, and that's what you do. So like you say, you create the layers, you do it, you try and duplicate as much as you can in your home cultivation or in your commercial, and you're going to get a product that mimics or comes close to as what nature would produce, and that's what you want. That's really what you want.
That's what we want. That's what we think other people want. I just think some of them don't know it yet,
Right. There are a few schools of thought with that, but at least I really do believe the cannabis consumer, because like we talked about earlier, the different ways that you ingest it into your body is going to want the purest and best product possible. And I think it's guys like you, like we say, starting from the bottom up with the soil where you start, that are going to make a difference and have made a difference in this industry since you've started. Again, the proof shows everybody carries your stuff. You talk to anybody in Connecticut or anybody in the New England area, you got to go to soil makers to get your thing. And so that's what I think is your legacy that you're leaving and will continue to leave. So we're almost out of time. How do people get in touch with you? Social media? What's the website?
So the website
What are
is
the various stores? If you want to
yeah,
shout out some of your stores that you're in.
yeah, the website is www.makeorganicsoil.com. You can always hit us up on Instagram. That's probably the best way to get in touch other than calling the store. Stores in Connecticut, Metatron's a big one. He's got two. Gold Coast. We got 86 Grow over in East Hartford. Oh man, you put me on the spot here. We got
Mr. Nice Guy.
Mr. We don't have soil up there yet.
Oh, really? We got to get him.
No. We talked to him earlier last year. I think we're gonna work something out. I think he was just getting set up, and a lot of people are finding places for what they're gonna bring in. So, but yeah, Ocean State Hydro over in Rhode Island, Matt's up in Mass Hydro, north of Boston, and he's got one little south of Boston, one north of Boston. And then a bunch in New York.
Just came to me. Are places like, let's say, Van Wilgren's or the more commercial grow that usually cater to the home plant grower, the home tomato grower, the I don't want to say as big as Home Depot, but the ones in the middle there, have they taken to your products? Have they taken to maybe including homegrown cannabis into their repertoire?
Yeah, so Mackey's actually just they were in here a couple weeks ago. We're trying to make a deal with them. We're on the fence though. They want to do a lot of outside storage, and we're pretty dead set on keeping our soil stored inside. And I think that's part of our mission is to make sure our distributors are handling the soils correctly.
Right.
And we don't want to see pallets of wet soil outside.
Like Agway, let's say. That was one that came to mind. Agway, maybe.
Exactly. Yep. So, so they're thinking about it. We were pretty dead set on that. With them, we just said, where if you're going to store it outside, it's just something we can't do.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I mean, we have a lot of retailers that that will store it inside. So, I mean, when it comes to that, it's like let's if we want to make a deal, it's going to have to be on our terms and we want our customers getting our product the way we would sell it, and I think that's important. We really take pride in selling a proper product.
Yeah, no. That does make a lot of sense why the smaller guys would start with it, because the larger guys they store their stuff outside. The rain gets on it, the bags leak. It could get contaminated. It loses.
Yeah, and I think that I think they're coming around. Like you said, they're trying to get into this industry. They're not sure yet if they want to sell it as a cannabis soil or not. But they already sell like Coast of Maine, Fox Farm. I mean, they're already selling it. They just don't. I don't think they want to.
They don't advertise it as that. You won't see them selling seeds and clones yet.
No, exactly. But
yeah, that soil, nice. Your soil could work for anything.
For sure. Yeah.
Not just cannabis. You're going to get some good tomatoes too.
For sure. Oh, amazing. And I do a huge veggie garden every year, and we have a lot of customers that use them for veggies, and it does outstanding. I mean, it might be a little too much for them, but not in a hot soil way, but just overall, it's we have the nutrient kit you could put in a raised bed that would do just as well as like using the potting soil per se, but all in all, it's an amazing soil to use for any heavy feeding
anything. Plant. Yeah, I'm gonna have to run down to Metatron and grab me a bag. He just opened up right near us down here.
in Orange, right?
Yeah, right there in Orange. I stopped over there. He's got a great shop over there, and I did see the products there. So, yeah, I'm going to get me a bag and do my growing this year with the Soil Maker soil.
We're happy to help, man. Happy to help.
All right. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. We're running out of time. one more shout out to your social media and your website, and then we will have a great 420.
All right, man. Yeah, the Soil Makers on Instagram, Facebook, or makeorganicsoil.com.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Happy
guys.
420. We'll see you out there on there and have a great grow season. Harry, hit that music. Uncle Lou is gone for the day, I guess. Stay happy, healthy, and high. Harry, hit the music. We're ready to roll. All right, no music. Okay, there it is. Like, share, subscribe, follow me at Joe the Weed Guy, at Green Haven Media, YouTube, follow Uncle Lou, Nautilus Botanicals. We'll see you all. Happy 420. Thank you, Jeff. Soil Makers, makeorganicsoil.com. We love you all. See you soon.